Hello everybody, and welcome to Unit 5, the final part of our class. So Unit 5 covers three areas: a republic, democracy, and capitalism. And they happen to be the three that make up the United States. So the first one, a republic, is a state in which supreme power is held by the people and their elected representatives, and which has an elected or nominated president rather than a monarch. So that's the first part of what makes up the United States. How we have this nominated president, and we'd like to discuss things. Want to have our representatives help support what we're saying, or help guide our thoughts to the president. It's not just us going and paying patronage to a monarch, king or queen, from way back when. And most of that has to do with the United States turning to England and shouting, "How dare you!" back, and saying, we are not going to continue with a monarchy. We are going to have a republic. And a few countries have had this as well. And it had been an idea, a philosophy, which most of these ideas are, or these philosophies. So next up we have democracy, which is a system of government by the whole population or all the eligible members of a state, typically through elected representatives. So you have the republic, which is the representatives and a leader working for the benefit of the people. The democracy is how whole population is governed, or is the governing body, and usually through, or typically through, selected representatives. In this instance, the true democracy would inflict mob rule, which mob rule is that all of us would always win if we are the majority, always voting. And so we do have a lot of that. You have currently the popular vote, a lot of people voting for that popular person that they want. And then you have the Electoral College that helps out those states that don't have a high population. If we didn't have that, this is the reason why, if we didn't have the Electoral College, then states like California, Texas, Montana, possibly? Well, that's just a large state. So California and Texas at least have the highest population within their state. So California could decide everything for everybody else. And that's why you have that marriage between the two, the democracy and the republic. So you have a fairly even keel of balance. Lastly, we have capitalism, which is an economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit rather than by the state. And capitalism is what the United States has used for the economy side of things. The economy, or the economic and political system part of what the United States does help our overall economy. However, remember those wrenches I've been mentioning? Yeah, the private owners part of that, and the profit part, the industry, that has uprooted a lot of things in America. And it's that's had a lot of issue within the country. There is a book, and I don't believe I mentioned this in class before, but the book is called The World is Flat. And I don't remember the author's last name, but the book had to deal with this very thing. This economic state that the United States had found itself in. And what had been mentioned, I believe it's 4 years ago now, bringing jobs back to America. A lot of these businesses had moved most of their companies out of state. and that was to gain better profit. Better handling of trade. They could hire cheaper labor. They wouldn't have to worry about healthcare, and all they'd have to do is make sure that they maintained the laws of whatever country they had gone to. But it was to help their own profit, not necessarily the American people. And that was that part, that making the world flat business. The other problem that has been with private owners is taking away that idea of the American dream. I don't know if you've heard of this, the American dream at one point. At one point, the American dream had been to own your own house, get your land, have your white picket fence out in front, your pet hanging out, and your kids and everything. You have the nice car. But over time, it's gotten hard to attain that. An American dream can certainly change, as it should, and not quite be just like that. But there's still this idea that the American dream is to be your own self, have your own money, which certainly is a great dream to have. But with this idea of the private owners, for profit, rather than the states or individual people, it takes away that ability to be able to do these things. That's a radical idea. But the thing of it is, we want to still encourage people to be their own selves. But it's that wrench that's in there. I'm going to be better. I'm going to earn all the money and just keep all the wealth for myself. And unfortunately, there have been many people that have thought that way. And there still are many people who are using their funds to help others. So it's not quite all in one saying, no, doom on you. But in that, that's where we have found ourselves in. The ones who have not wanted to help. And as a side note, and this is going to age horribly, I'm sure, including it in the video, but there is a meme out there, or what has been said, a lot of the celebrities stating, and they're tweeting and what have you, we're all in the same boat. Their boats are much bigger than everyone else's. Some of us are in little boats, some of us are in a little box trying to float around on the water. And one part of that is the capitalist nature that has governed a lot of the world. When you study a lot of these things, republic, democracy, and capitalism, you do find these wrenches in a particular system. In a republic, that is voting for a leader. If everybody has the equal opportunity to vote for a leader, you may not always get a leader that you like. And even then, you may end up with a leader that might have sounded good on paper or just in speeches, but then does not deliver after they get into office or they stand up to that leadership position. And many leaders have been tested each time. Currently, this is quite a big test. This is a world test that we're dealing with. But in that, that's one part of what could end up as a human wrench in a republic. Mostly because I just remembered now, I forgot to talk about those. Democratic wrench, that was the mob rule that I mentioned. In that, if you have only the large group of people and like two people saying, no, but we think something differently, and that's the only system you have, then it's always going to be mob rule. Which is why you offset it with the republic, where you have the conversation, you have representatives that are helping in each individual case. The other part of that, having those representatives, is so that each district gets a voice. In California, I forget how many districts we have, but each district has a representative that has then been sent off to help argue for our cause, because each one of our districts is different compared to others. San Diego would be different than Chula Vista. And even San Diego itself, San Diego County, has many all over the place. And it is that makes up our country. Republic, democracy, with capitalism. And so these are the three areas, at least, that make up the American government. How this place runs. And that's just talking of a broad sense. Each state then has its own republic and democratic portion that then filters through to each city within the state. So, it is something for you to consider for your paper, possibly writing up a country that has a breakdown similar to that, where you have a giant country and then smaller either city-states, states themselves, and cities within those. It's an interesting case, but I left it for last, these three topics, because it is either a place that we have come to go to school, to work, or a place that we have immigrated to, or that we're born into. And it's even more complex than just these three parts, but I wanted to give you a little bit of information into that. So, hope you found this a little bit interesting, and I'll see you around in the virtual classroom.